Kev, do you think Dr. Phil has BDE? Demon Girl, thank you for tuning in. And yes, I think recently Dr. Phil has had some BDE. And Dr. Phil actually shreds Biden a new one. I'm not even kidding you. He shreds Biden, destroys Biden. He's been getting asked by some people I know about whether or not he would run for office. Dr. Oz obviously ran for office and lost to the person I'm actually starting to like a little bit more than I used to, John Fetterman, the stroke victim that ended up beating an actual doctor. That election will still amaze me to this day. But because of that, Dr. Phil's been getting the question, are you going to run for office? Are you going to do something? Have you ever been asked to run for office? Things like that. And because of that, he's been given also questions about political opinions. Why is Dr. Phil in the news so much right now? Well, he actually is also promoting a book. I'll be honest. It's not just that Dr. Phil randomly showed up, but his opinions are being kind of interesting because and he's been asked about a lot of things going on in contemporary politics. Here's another example of that. Overtime with Dr. Phil and some others.
Got issues. You all know this guy, Dr. Phil McGraw.
Yeah, Dr. Phil.
He's a former Ohio congressman and founder of the organization We the People, Tim Ryan. And she's an opinion editor at Newsweek and author of the forthcoming book, Second Class, Batya Ungar Sargon. Okay. All right, here are the questions. Dr. Phil, do you think President Biden should take a cognitive exam?
If you got people that have nothing to hide, hide nothing. So why not?
There we go. People who have nothing to hide, hide nothing. So why not? And this is a portion of of Bill Mayer's show where he just asks questions quickly to people. And there's some more I want to cover with this, but it doesn't pertain to this clip, like I said. So we're going to come back to it. But Dr. Phil expands a little bit on this question and more in a TMZ interview that he just did the other day as well, in which they talked to him about Biden's doctor giving him the all clear on cognitive ability, as well as talking a little bit about other things that Dr. Phil thinks of politically. So take a look and listen to this clip.
We both feel the same thing, that this is a different Dr. Phil. You're not dealing with issues of the head. You're dealing with issues of America, it feels like.
Yes and yes. And no. The no part's about politics. Not a chance in hell am I getting into politics.
I'm just curious if anyone has tried to court you to run for office.
Well, I've had some very serious people approach me, I think, very seriously about a run for president, and I'm very flattered. No, I have no interest.
Which party? Which party?
You know, some from both, and then there's a third party that's afoot. And I think we're going to be hearing more and more about that very soon. And I'm not being falsely humble here when I say this. I don't know enough about politics to talk about politics. I think most of the people who talk about politics don't either. They're just not willing to admit it.
When I heard yesterday that the doctor who did the physical exam for Joe Biden came out and said he doesn't need a cognitive test, so we're just not going to do one, it just felt so ridiculous to me, because that's the issue in the election. People have seen things on television that are concerning, and if they've seen it, it seems like the doctor has seen it, and it just felt so false to me. And I'm wondering how you felt about it.
One of my specialties back when I was in practice was brain and central nervous system, and cognitive ability, cognitive agility. And these things can be defined objectively, such as memory, of course, and what's called working memory, the ability to comprehend, put sentences together, express yourself. All of these things are very measurable. And if you really had nothing to hide, I think you would hide nothing. And if you had no problem with neurological deficits, wouldn't you want to crow about that? Wouldn't you want to have a transparent neurocognitive examination and show the world that was the case? That kills the issue in the election.
You would think that that's what you would want to do. And it would make sense that Joe Biden would in some way want to quash that issue. I mean, think about it. Just a few weeks ago, I did an interview on here or not an interview, I did a live stream where I talked about the worst press conference in American history. And it was right after the classified documents probe came out and said, Joe Biden is a feeble old man that doesn't have a good memory and is basically an idiot. Once again, all of these things that most of us watching here already knew. We already knew this. But now it's becoming mainstream for people to talk about. If remember back in 2020, I'll never forget. Back in 2020, if you said that Joe Biden was like an idiot and didn't know like his right from his left or anything, like he didn't know where he was, if you said anything like that back then, the lamestream media and everybody else would call you a bigot and an ableist because apparently, no, it's just his stutter. He doesn't know where he is because he can't talk. Like what? No, that's not how it works. A stutter doesn't make you say and pretend like you didn't just speak gibberish. I mean, at least we have a bilingual president. Well, he can speak gibberish well. English is still kind of difficult for him. I guess I can't say bilingual there. But Dr. Phil hits this right on point. Why wouldn't you? If you're trying to prove, and like he did like he tried to after the probe came out, Joe Biden gets up in front of America and while trying to prove that he is mentally competent, proves further that he's not. And if he really, really wanted to show America and honestly not have any of this election be about your actual ability to govern and be even like cognizant of what's going on, then wouldn't you want to have a mental competency test? Wouldn't that be something that you would want? And the thing is maybe that could actually win some people over. Look, I'm not like going to advocate for Joe Biden by any means, but maybe that would actually win some people over. Maybe there's some people that are like, man, I just can't vote for the guy that seems to like literally crap his pants all the time. But the thing is that then you look at this New York Times poll that is spelling problems for Biden. And this is just yesterday out of the Daily Wire. A poll released over the weekend spells serious trouble for President Joe Biden heading into the 2024 presidential election. The poll published by the New York Times and Siena College is considered to be the #1 overall poll out of more than several hundred, according to 538's pollster ratings. Now, the overwhelming majority of respondents, 62% of men and 68% of women, believe that the United States is heading in the wrong direction under Biden. And if the presidential primary or if the presidential election were held today, 48% said they would vote for Trump, and 43% said they would vote for Biden. 48% they believe that Trump will win, and 39% said they believe Biden will win. So the same amount of people that said they would vote for Trump also believe that Trump will win. 4% less of those that said they would vote for Biden believe that he would actually win. That's telling. That's telling. Only 18% said that Biden's policies help them personally, and 43% said that his policies hurt them personally. So people don't believe that Biden's policies are actually doing anything for them. They believe they have no personal stake in the game, which means that the only reason anybody would vote for Biden would be for an altruistic purpose. So if you believe that, if you're somebody who believes, well, he's actually doing it, if somehow you're so jaded to believe that the border is perfectly fine the way it is, and you believe, well, we're actually going to help all these people who are having a better life to have a better life, and you actually believe that's going to happen, then yeah, that would be a reason to vote for Biden, I guess. But you have to be like in so deep denial. Like you would have to be in the largest set of denial. You would have to be literally either, or you could have just been living under a rock for the last few years. No, there's no better way to explain it than you would have to just be in severe deep denial. But further into this poll, there's Democrat primary voters were even split on whether Biden should be the party's nominee, with 46% saying yes and 45% saying no. So half and half believe that the incumbent, and that's the big thing. And so if you've never taken a political science class or anything, first off, you're not really missing that much. But one thing I did learn in them is the fact that when it comes to incumbency, incumbents, their chances of getting reelected radically higher in presidency, in Congress, in Senate, in state Senate, and pretty much any elected office. An incumbent is so much higher chance of getting reelected. And so when you're an incumbent president and half of your party says, yeah, I don't think we should have this guy, very telling. His favorability rating so low. When asked about how you feel about Biden or how people feel about Biden's job performances, 17% said they strongly approve, 19% said they somewhat approve, 14% said they somewhat disapprove, 47% strongly disapprove. So that means like 61% of people disapprove in some way. That's insane. Insane. There is no chance. So this is why people are further pushing the idea, which I'm still like kind of split on. I'm not 100% sure that Biden will not be the nominee. I don't know. But the thing is that if Biden isn't the nominee, I know there's talks of Michelle Obama or Gavin Newsom. I've talked on this show before as to why I think it would have to be Kamala Harris. I don't think Kamala would let it be anybody else. But you even look at this, when you compare favorability right now, you look at the net favorability of all the candidates right now, or all of those three. So you have Trump, Biden, and Kamala. All of them are in the negative. People don't like any of them by and large. And I know people out there, you might like Trump. Perfectly fine. I like Trump. But overall, he's still not incredibly popular. But Trump's net favorability rating, according to this poll, was negative 10%, while Biden was negative 21%, and Kamala Harris's was negative 19%. So Trump is the highest. And so when we talk about how, and when you hear people that are like, man, I really don't like Trump, but I also hate Biden, and I think Biden's done an awful job. At least Trump did a decent job. I just don't like him as a person. That's how we have the system now of where we're consistently voting for a lesser of two evils. And when I say we, I mean how a lot of people feel about the